This is KGW News at noon.
I have the absolute right to declare a national emergency. The lawyers have so advised me. I'm not prepared to do that yet, but if I have to, I will. I have no doubt about it, I will.
New threats from President Trump in the border battle. This morning, he spoke with reporters before heading to Texas to make the case for his border wall. I'm Brenda Braxton. Thank you for joining us today. The trip comes one day after negotiations between the White House and Democratic leaders fell apart. NBC's Jay Gray reports.
President Trump lands in South Texas a day after meeting with Republicans on Capitol Hill and Democratic leaders at the White House, where talks about the budget and border wall apparently fell apart.
Again, we saw a temper tantrum because he couldn't get his way and he just walked out of the meeting.
I don't have temper tantrums, I really don't. But it plays to his narrative, but it's a lie.
The president doubling down and digging in on his demand to build a wall along the border.
I think we're getting closer, but we really have to think about the people of our country. This is not a fight I wanted. I didn't want this fight.
The president insists a barrier is needed to battle the threat of terrorism, gangs, drug, and human trafficking, while Democrats, who've offered more than $1 billion for border security, say a wall is not the answer.
He is holding the American people hostage to his ineffective, expensive wall.
The number of people apprehended at the border has dropped dramatically since 2000. As the government shutdown over the issue now stretches to its 20th day, the president is threatening to sidestep Congress by declaring a national emergency.
My threshold will be if I can't make a deal with people that are unreasonable.
The White House and Democrats locked in a fight as federal employees and the country continue to hang in the balance. Jay Gray, NBC News, Hidalgo, Texas.
Well, the shutdown means those 800,000 federal employees aren't getting paid. For TSA workers, this Friday's paycheck likely isn't coming. KGW's Christine Pitawanich is joining us live now at PDX. And Christine, you just talked to the TSA officers there. What did they tell you?
Brenda, as you just said, with the shutdown in full effect, that paycheck tomorrow does not seem likely. That is why these union representatives for TSA employees are here at PDX today holding signs calling for an end to the shutdown. They say what they want to do is talk to travelers and other Transportation Security Administration officers to give them information on the shutdown and its impacts. One union rep we spoke with says a lot of these TSA workers have long or odd hours and many live paycheck to paycheck. They say TSA officers probably won't feel the full impact of not getting paid until tomorrow, when the money just isn't in the bank.
So what about, gas? What about money? What about rent? What about food? What about childcare? They have to pay for all that somehow.
Be understanding if they encounter one of the TSA people who may be a little bit on edge with all the additional concerns that are now weighing on their mind.
Across the country right now, some TSA workers are calling in sick as a form of protest. Others are quitting their jobs. Many of them just don't like being forced to work during the government shutdown. Here at PDX, though, union reps say that is not happening. Travelers can still feel safe. TSA agents are still coming to work, making sure security won't be compromised. Still, some travelers we've spoken to are worried something might slip through that's not supposed to. But several travelers we've spoken to have said the government should pay TSA workers because it's a matter of security. But for now, a lot of uncertainty among TSA officers and other federal workers who are not getting paid, still coming to work during the shutdown. Brenda?
All right, Christine, thank you. And here's something you don't often think about. The Oregon Humane Society says it's trying to help federal workers provide for their pets during the shutdown. This is a live look at the OHS storage facility in Northeast Portland. Staffers are handing out free pet food for federal employees and contractors who own dogs or cats. The event runs until 1:30 this afternoon. The facility is located near Northeast 14th and Argyle Drive. Well, the shutdown is the topic of our viewer voice poll this noon. Our question today, who should give in to end the shutdown, President Trump or Democrats? Grab your phone and vote right now. You can press the Vote tab on the KGW News app or go to kgw.com/vote. This noon, we're hearing from the former Duck football player suing the University of Oregon for what he calls abusive workouts. He claims he now has some permanent health damage because of them. KGW's Tim Gordon interviewed the young man within the last hour and joins us live here in downtown Portland. Tim.
Yeah, Brenda, we are right outside Doug Brenner's attorney's offices where we met. He is suing the U of O, his coaches, and the NCAA. Brenner was one of 3 players hospitalized back in 2017 after a team workout. The players were diagnosed with rhabdomyolysis. That's a condition where muscles break down and toxins build up in the body from extreme overexertion. Brenner was a standout lineman and a team leader in his final season, but he claims the damage done to him by the intense and abusive drills hurt his football career, and more importantly, it did permanent damage to his kidneys, taking up to 10 years off his life expectancy. He blames then head coach Willie Taggart, a conditioning coach, the university, and the NCAA. Brenner is seeking $11.5 million in damages, and he wants change with rules that are enforced instead of guidelines that aren't.
The NCAA needs to be held accountable. These coaches need to be held accountable, because this shouldn't have to happen to any college athlete. Every year there's college athletes being hospitalized because of these things, and it's so avoidable.
Now here's the response in part from the U of O. It goes like this, quote, "The well-being and safety of our students are our top priorities at the University of Oregon. We have been advised of the litigation filed. We will respond appropriately in the court proceedings." Brenner is still an avid fan of Ducks football. In fact, you know, he finished his career there, graduated, just got a master's degree at the U of O. So he says it's really hard to be suing his own university. Feels it's necessary, though, to affect change there and really across the country. We're going to keep you posted on this one. Brenda, back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. Well, it's 12:05 and we can see that it is drier and certainly warmer when you're outside all across the Portland metro area today. That's a live look from our Wells Fargo Skycam. All right, meteorologist Rod Hill is joining us now. Despite those dark clouds, you're tracking potentially record-breaking high temperatures.
Yeah, and by the way, the clouds overall are starting to now show signs of thinning, and pretty much all of us will at least see increasing sunshine in the coming hours. But let's get to what we're watching. So the high temperature for today's date, the record out at the airport PDX is 57 degrees. That was set back just a few years ago in 2014. This one in Salem of 60, this is unusual. A record high still standing in the books to go all the way back to 1895. Believe it or not, we will be close to tying or breaking both of these records this afternoon. The normal high this time of the year is 46 degrees. There's that somewhat dark view from the Wells Fargo camera that Brenda showed you. It's still only 48 degrees out at the airport, which would make you think that record of 57 is probably fairly safe. Other numbers, 53 in Hillsborough. There's still a bit of an east wind flow, not overly windy, but a cool wind coming out of the gorge, 48 degrees. But here's where it gets interesting. Salem, McNary Field now 56 degrees. They would only need 4 in the coming 3 hours to tie that record. That goes all the way back to 1895. And just south of Salem, here's the Willamette Valley Vineyards camera in Turner showing the cloud deck is quite a bit thinner down there. So maybe you folks in parts of Marion County anyway have a chance to get up to 60. Generally speaking, we'll still say the Portland Metro on average has a chance to get up to 55. No matter how you slice it, it's a nice afternoon. More in your forecast for the weekend coming up.
Excellent. See you then. Thank you, Rod. Now to a very disturbing story at a nursing facility in Phoenix. Police are investigating a sexual assault case after a woman in a coma for more than a decade gave birth late last month. The 29-year-old lives at Hacienda Healthcare. Investigators say her last physical exam was back in April. They say no one on staff reported the pregnancy until she went into labor. Police have started taking DNA samples from all of the men who work there, hoping to identify a suspect.
She was not in a position to give consent to any of this. So if anyone can understand that this was a helpless victim.
This morning, an attorney for the woman's family told NBC News they're, quote, outraged, traumatized, and in shock by the abuse and neglect of their daughter. Hacienda Healthcare's CEO resigned on Monday. The board says it is cooperating with police. A new state audit is putting the spotlight on spending at Portland Public Schools. The report found the district spent tax dollars on lavish retirement parties and questionable purchases. That includes paying $9,000 to rent the Portland Spirit River Cruise, more than $1,000 for leis and other flowers shipped from Hawaii, and roughly $1,700 for crystal clocks given as retirement gifts. The district also paid for Amazon Prime membership for employees who spent almost $1.4 million on school supplies. PPS says that's in the past and it's making changes. Now, managers must review all purchases.
I don't believe that's a good way to spend our money, plain and simple. This activity has been discontinued. We will find another way to honor our retirees, our hardworking staff.
The report also found that PPS is failing students of color. There's a huge achievement gap between white students and minorities that's higher than the state average. We have that entire report for you on KGW.com. Newport is mourning 3 fishermen who died when their boat capsized in rough seas. This happened late Tuesday night. There was a nasty storm coming in from the Pacific. The Mary B-2 was trying to make it back to the docks in Newport when a 20-foot wave hit it. The boat capsized, and despite rescue efforts, the crew died. At a vigil last night, people remembered one of the victims, Joshua Porter of Toledo, Oregon.
He was kind and gentle and loving and giving, and I mean, he would help whoever he could.
The 2 other men killed were from New Jersey. We're told they had little to no experience crabbing.